Davenport live right here. And guess what? Nobody loves you more than I do.
Davi Davenport Live. Davi Davenport Live Show. Davi Davenport Live.
Hey guys, how are you? It's your girl Davi Davenport of Davi Davenport. You guys are so fun. I love it. You know what? You have to love it. It's a live show. They're sharing the show with all of their amazing supporters. It's your girl Davi Davenport Live. I want to just first of all say thank you so much to all of you that are joining us and that have been supporting the show really for 30 years. But the shows that we've been doing recently are shows that have been really touching for my heart. We talked about my brother who just celebrated 1 year of being a heart transplant recipient. Donald, you're doing great things. The other day, we had my dear friend, Deborah Vines. I was out with the Answer Inc. out at the Autism Walk. 18 years, Deborah's been doing this walk. 20 years with the Answer Incorporated. We also had Essie Marie's of Essie Marie's Dressing. Essie Marie, my dear friend, Shonia Scott, spoke about her starting this business because her mother had a heart attack right in front of her, and she decided that she wanted to do something different. Now, the show that we had 2 weeks ago was super exciting, guys, because it was all about balling on a budget. But my dear friend Sharon spoke about balling on a budget, but she also talked about why this was so important to her. And when her husband had a catastrophic stroke and she had to become the sole provider for their home, and how balling on a budget was very important to her. Now, I'm going to tell you something. When I'm selecting shows for Davi Davenport Live, a lot of people write me in. They go to davidavenportlive.com and they write in and say, I've got a great story. But then there's certain stories, and there's always things that move me and touch my heart. But then there's stories that I know for a fact that need to be heard. Now, my guests this evening that I'm going to introduce you to are two amazing women. They're actually a mother-daughter dynamic duo. You know, I love a mother-daughter dynamic duo. Rest in paradise to my mother. Always there supporting one another. And tonight they're going to talk about something that I knew we had. It's a story of healing, guys. It's a story of healing, but the journey that we're going to take you down with this book that's a hot topic, The Diary of a Dope Fiend's Daughter. And we have my dear friend, Rita Lawson, and her amazing daughter, LaTanya Beasley, on the air. We love you guys. Yes, thank you guys. Wow. You know, first of all, I want to tell you thank you. A lot of times, stories that people have, they don't want to share them for whatever reason. And I think that we enhance other people's lives, like for the viewer when they're tuning in, or for our friends when we share. There's things that in my life that I've had that have been adversity or perceived adversities that people would say, oh my God, I can't believe you made it through that. And I did. And so I want to share it so that I believe it's God's way of really using us. Absolutely. And using us. So thank you so much for being here. LaTanya, you're a superstar. You're a real superstar. You're a real superstar. You know, when I talked to Rita, Rita said, and here's the book, guys. You guys have to make sure that you go out and get the book. I highly recommend this. Oprah, if you're out there, girl, this is one of the books that you need for your book club for sure. I'm going to talk to you about that personally, okay? But Rita said when she heard, we were talking on the phone for one of our long conversations, and she said, when my daughter told me, when LaTanya said, I'm writing a book, and when you told her the title, she said at first, she was like, oh, she gasped. She gasped. And she said, what did you say? And she said, the Diary of a Dope Fiend's Daughter. But then she said to herself, Mom, that's my story. How did you make the decision that you wanted to write this book? What was the thought that I need to write this? And how did you come about with the title?
Okay, so I'll start with the last question first.
Okay.
So, as far as the title came about because in a book I talk about a lot of my writing. And when I was younger, I always wrote in a diary. And this is before journaling was the thing that it is today.
You're an old school girl, though. We had diaries with locks on them when we were kids.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And so I used to write in this diary and I hid it in the crack of our ceiling. And when I thought about writing a story and when I came up with the title, I always wanted to share my story. And when I came up with the title, I was like, okay, I wrote in diaries, and back when name calling was like a thing, it's a dope fiend. Like a person who was a heroin addict would be considered a dope fiend.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, I like the way that the name rings, the diary of a dope fiend's daughter. And it's not just my mom's story, of course, it's my dad as well.
Okay. Now, and that's powerful. First of all, we're diary girls also. I wrote in diaries as a kid, and it's a safe space.
Yes.
And like you said, before journaling was ever out, we were writing in our diaries.
Yes.
When you titled your book, did you think about what would that mean to your mom?
I think that looking at the book goes with the thing that everyone says, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And so when I wrote the book, I knew that it would just be a story of like how I transitioned from the bad things that my mom and I went through to our relationship now.
Yes.
And so I wanted to share the story because I know that I'm not the only one who grew up like that.
Sure. But
the most important thing about the book and sharing the story, and I knew that people would like clutch their pearls when they heard the name of the book. The main thing is that I didn't want the story just to be about me just telling about my life, because I was like, who am I? Who wants to just read about my life? I wanted the book to be a tool for other people.
Sure. Now, Rita, hearing your daughter say this, I know you had spoken to me about it, and now hearing it again on the air with, hopefully thousands of people will see this. How did it feel for you when she told you, I'm writing this book? I know you were proud about her writing a book. We're always proud of what our children are doing. But how did you feel when she told you what the title was and what that meant to her?
So honestly, after I took it all in and in reflection of how our relationship is today, I was really proud.
Yes.
Because I've been clean and sober.
Yes.
27 years.
Yes. Congratulations.
And so thank you. And so I am not the person that I once was with some of the stories in the book. And so I knew the book would be used also as a tool to help other people, because I would share stories with LaTanya about other women that's in recovery that still to this day have strained relationships.
Sure.
And so through the amazing grace of God, he has bridged the gap between the two of us. And so, I kind of like popped my collar.
Popped your collar, exactly.
Because of what the amazing things that God is doing in our lives, especially through the book.
And and congratulations to you for having that mindset, because your start of it was, my first thought was, I'm proud of my daughter, which is what she said to me. She said, Davi, I'm proud. And we're always proud of the things that our children, my son talks to me sometimes now about things that he wishes that I had done differently in his childhood. And we talk about it, and there are hurdles a lot of times that we have to get over. So it's good for that to come out. And so when you were writing the book, what did you want the message? And then we're going to talk, I definitely want to talk about a little bit about, and I asked you, was it okay? But a little bit about like what it was like. But I want to ask you this, when you wrote the book, what did you want the message to be for people that were out in the world? Because first of all, let me tell you what's great. I believe that having a title as powerful as yours was a brilliant idea, because it's the shock factor.
Yeah.
Who was the book like? Guess what my mom was? I saw it. No. It's like, no. It was the shock factor, because when I saw it, I was like, oh my God. I started following you, looking at your mother. I was like, girl, we need to talk. It really did. So what is it that you want? And then we're gonna take a stroll down memory lane a little bit.
Okay.
Those boots are bad, girl. I gotta tell you
Oh,
also.
thank you.
I tell you this one, I had to talk that in, guys. This one. What did you want the book to say to the world when you wrote it?
I wanted the book to say that our parents who may have abused drugs, they did something in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, if your parent has been clean and sober for years and they're trying to make amends with their past with you, to give them a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the reality of it is that drug addiction, it's almost like alcohol, right? When we go out with our friends, someone has too much to drink, it's like, girl, you don't remember what you did when you, it's the same thing. When you are under the influence, you make bad decisions.
Yes.
Right? You may not make the most sound decisions when you're under the influence. So just coming from that standpoint, like, know who your parent is today.
Yeah.
Try to get to know that person today, and baby steps. And the other thing that I wanted people to really get out of the book is that if you do the work, you can really get an understanding of what your parents went through. Because I found out things about my mom's past by with us going through the story, going through the journaling prompts together.
I'm excited for us to share that.
And hearing some of the things that I'd never known about her addiction.
Sure.
And so it helped me, and I just wanted to help other people.
That's beautiful. You know, my father, who is deceased now, and I really respect what you said. If a parent is trying, you know, if a person, it's one day at a time, one step at a time, and we know that.
Mm-hmm.
My father, before he passed, was 36 years sober.
Wow, that's awesome.
We had a very estranged relationship prior to that. You know, my entire life, that had been our story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that trickled off into my own personal life. You know, we would drink and socialize together when we see each other because that was kind of a happy medium for us.
Okay.
So that was something. So when I hear you say that, that's how and I wanted a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore I wanted us to be close. So I accepted that he was a new person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this wasn't it. So Rita,
Awesome.
tell me a little bit about how the addiction started. Where did it start?
It started with my oldest brother, God rest his soul.
Yes.
I was 15 years old, and he introduced me to heroin. And I always like to say, I believe the first time, because of how I was raised in the household, I like to believe that the first time I tried heroin, it gave me such a wonderful, euphoric feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Until I wanted to continue on. So to answer your question, my eldest brother, he introduced me to heroin when I was 15.
So when you say, because that word euphoric, you know, euphoria, when you think about, do you think that you were searching for something prior to that? So when because traditionally if someone says, I want you to try heroin, you would think to say, I would have thought to say, to be honest with you, are you kidding me?
So when I say euphoria, because of the household that I was raised in, you know, parents, you know, unstable, dysfunctional, I just say that, it gave me a feeling that I can get away from what was happening, you know, at home, although it was still happening. And I had no idea, looking in retrospect, had I known heroin was such an addictive chemical, I probably would not have tried heroin.
Absolutely.
And I ended up using heroin for 25 years of my life.
Sure. You know, a lot of people, when I tapped back on, and then I want to go to LaTanya and ask her a question, but when I tapped on the word euphoria, because a lot of people are looking for out-of-body experiences. people do it every day and out with alcohol.
Right.
Alcohol was illegal at one point, like drugs are, like your heroin or cocaine or anything would be. And people were looking for when they were going through something in their lives. And so LaTanya, your mom talks about the start for her. Now, you also wrote in the book that your uncle said to you, this is something that you need to stay away from.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you know? Your mom talks about, the euphoria for herself and this happening. You speak about this being something that you were raised with. But how did you know for you as a young girl, this is something I don't want for myself?
Oh, because from a little girl all the way up until probably COVID, I lived my life basing all of my decisions and doing everything opposite of my parents.
Okay.
And so
you said up to COVID.
Yeah, it was like in the stillness of COVID, I sat down and I wasn't working a 9 to 5 at the time.
Okay.
And I just sat down and I was like, wait a minute. All of my decisions are pretty much based on, oh, my mom and them did this. Well, I want to do the opposite. They did this. I want to do the opposite, until it was like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And that's where the title even came from in that time frame. I was like, okay, maybe I could write a book one day.
Sure.
But and then I was educated by that time. Like, I feel like my mom at 15 wasn't educated.
Yes.
So I was educated through watching.
Mm-hmm.
And then by this time, the Say No to Drug campaigns were out in the 1900s. I say 1900s, like so the Say No to Drug campaigns and all of that was out. So I knew I didn't want that life for myself.
Sure. And Rita, hearing that, I know that, it doesn't make a difference where our kids get, well, I'm not gonna say it doesn't make a difference, but when it's within our family, we always are happy no matter where a positive message comes from now you talk about 27 years of being sober.
Yes.
27 years of being sober. So 15, when did it escalate for you? When you realized that I can't stop this is something, and that I needed to get help. Just give us a little bit, because the real story of Davi Davenport Live, the real story that I want to talk about is the beautiful relationship that you have and how the healing started. And that's the real connection, because everyone is, whoever's tuning in right now, if you're experiencing addiction, then we also have some information. Substance abuse can happen to anyone. So you make sure that you get some help. Whether it's going to a program, there's programs that are available that are out there for you. And you can always go to DaviDavenportLive.com. I'm always interested in sharing information that I personally know that's been very good, even been very good in my own life. So make sure that you just don't hesitate to go to DaviDavenportLive.com. I can always share some information with you. Rita's going to share her information as well on, for her social media and everything. And also LaTanya, did you just, on another note, did you make that shirt? Is that from your business?
I did.
We're going to talk about that before we go off the air, because you have so many incredible talents. So tell me a little bit, Rita, 15 years old, you start. How did you know this is a problem? And tell us a little bit, 15, 16, when did it start to really kick in? Because you shared with me about even having the drug man move in your house.
Yes. Yeah, well, I turned our apartment into the drug house.
Yeah.
And those gentlemen, and I call them gentlemen because they called my daughter, they never messed with her, and they schooled her.
Yes.
And so I knew it was a problem. I started at 15. Didn't know it was a highly addictive drug at the time until I was going through a physical illness.
Now, what did you mean you didn't know it was highly addictive?
I didn't know. I didn't know at 15. I just know my eldest brother asked my best friend and I, did we want some? We took it. She went upstairs in my room and went to sleep. And it gave me like, whoo, I'm not going to sleep. I feel good. And so I didn't know it was highly addictive until I didn't have it. I didn't know what my body was going through. It was like flu-like symptoms, regurgitating, couldn't eat, nose running, eyes running. And I'm like, wow. And it was my brother that introduced me to heroin. He calls me Reese. And he said, "Rissy, you got a dope habit." I'm like, a dope habit?
Now, was he getting high also?
Oh, absolutely.
And he said this to you?
Yes. And no, he also said, "I told you not to do those drugs for 3 days in a row."
That was his logic.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
That's his logic.
he said, if you
don't do it for 3 days.
he said, if you do them 3 days in a row, you're gonna get addicted. And sure enough, I did. So that's probably another story Tanya never heard.
Sure. Wow. You know, a lot of people talk about in the 90s. Remember when I owned a hair salon, or 3 hair salons, but one of the salons, I would see people come in my salon. I would know they were high sometimes. You could tell the different things. We had a popular salon. You could see people coming. You could see when they come in buzzing around, kind of jerking around like that. And, you know, though you could see them sitting in the barber's chair, kind of nodding off a bit. And you would see the difference. And I've actually said to people, is there any, can we help? What can we do to help you? Because a couple of the women that have come in, I've seen them go down. I've seen their lives change.
Oh, absolutely.
LaTanya, did you, during the period now, so of course, fast forwarding from 15, how old were you when you had LaTanya, number one?
I was 20.
So you were 20 years old. So during the time of your mother's addiction, were there things that you saw, because I read the book, so were there things that you saw in your life that you said, Mom, these are hurting me. This is affecting me negatively. What was it that happened in your life that you know that you wouldn't ever want to happen with your child's life?
Ooh, number one, it was closed doors all the time. The strange, different people who would come in and out of the house, and they would go to one room. There were things like cut up straws. And it's like, even now, one time someone was just, you know how people doodle around, and it was a straw on the table with some scissors and just cutting up the straw. And I was like, who cut up these straws? Like, where did this come from? It's just things like that that just I didn't like. But really, it was the closed doors and the different people in and out. But I think the worst part was when we moved away from my grandmother's house and we had our own space. And I think everything kind of like progressed down. And that's when I started like writing letters to my mom and putting them on the TV to express how I feel.
Sure.
Because the TV, that's the first thing people turn on when they get in the house.
Yeah.
So along with...
What do you mean when you say that was the first thing that people turn on?
Oh, when they would come out the room, our sitting area was maybe, you know, like this. And then the TV would come on. So you will see the television, and I want you to see my note before you enjoy anything on the TV. Look what I left for you.
I hate you notes.
Yeah, they were
really.
Yeah, they were. I hate you. You stupid. Like, you're dumb. It was one time where it was a crack in the door, and it's like, these rooms were small, so there were several people in this room, and I know what you all are in here doing. But I'm a teenager by now.
Sure.
And again, it just became very embarrassing as well.
So you were writing notes and leaving them for them to see them?
Absolutely.
And Rita, what about when you saw those notes? What did that say to you? How did that make you feel?
You know, when you're in the throes of your addiction,
you
know, you care, but once you so into the drug, it's like you can't do anything about it. Because LaTanya would leave, I hate you notes. You know, you're buying drugs from our friends. And, you know, and I would say, well, I'm your mama. You don't tell me what to do.
Sure.
And so, you know, drug addiction is serious.
Yes.
Especially with heroin. And although I wanted to stop, I couldn't stop. Although I wanted to be that mother to not just LaTanya, but to also John. I have a son that's 39, LaTanya's 46. Through the grace of God.
Look, LaTanya, we won't tell her. LaTanya's like sitting over there looking like she's 21. She know her. Look, she's like, Mom, you just told my age on national television.
And I tell my age,
oh, sure, of course. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. You said you stopped when she was 20. And you've been sober 27, so
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
we already told this story. But the fact of it, it was funny because I'm always like, what? I was like, what? No.
Yeah. So, it was, it was hurtful because
Sure.
today I tell this story. I speak at a lot of different circuits
Yes, you do.
for recovery. So I tell that story
Yes.
of how Tanya would leave, I hate you notes, and I'm like, wow, I really hurt my daughter. But I'm grateful, that God has healed the hole
Yes.
that was once in our soul.
Yes.
And we have a beautiful relationship now. That's why we tell the story
Right.
unapologetically,
Yes.
unashamed,
Yes.
because that's not who I am anymore.
And
Latanya no longer hates me. We have a beautiful relationship.
And you know what?
That's the message.
And that's the real message. First of all, anyone that's out there, addiction, we're talking about a disease.
Mhm.
So if someone had cancer, heart disease, or anything else, if you have a loved one that's going through anything that resembles this, just know that this is a disease that they have. And if they're trying to do better, as LaTanya said, then please give them a chance. Tell me a bit about the transition for you. And then I want to go directly into the transition for you. And then I want to go into forgiveness. I want you to talk about how you started to forgive your mother. But just give me what was the decision when you said enough is enough?
Whew. Is that for me?
That's for you.
So,
and then I want LaTanya to share how she was able to trust you, to say that she
Okay.
believed you this time.
And so the decision for me was, I really believe I had a spiritual experience.
Okay.
I was in a place where I don't think anyone would want to be. I'll just say that.
Go ahead and share that.
And I had an encounter with God,
Yes.
with my head in a steel toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a different cry
Yes.
than all the other cries. And the
Mhm.
reason I believe in my whole being,
Yes.
from my head to my heart, that it was a spiritual experience, because from that day, July 16th, 1998, to this day,
Wow.
I have never used any mood, mind altering chemicals.
Oh God, congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you. So important for me.
Yes. And so when you heard, look at that, go ahead and give her a hug. Give her a hug. Give her a hug. I also want to say to Love Church also supports, and to my family over at Love Church supports a lot about families that are getting through addiction. So I love you guys so much. I'm gonna take a sip out of your mug here.
I'm gonna take a sip out of Davi's.
Out of the Davi Davenport live mug that you guys have there. How did hearing your mother say, and then we're going to dive into the book because there's a lot of excitement in that book. A lot of excitement. A lot of great things happened with me from reading your book.
Thank you.
How did you trust that this time that your mother said, this is it? Because we know that this wasn't the first time, wasn't the second, but how did you trust when she said, I'm done, that this was really it? And how did you allow yourself to start the road to forgiveness?
So I want to first start off by saying that I always wanted a better relationship with my mom. I think that most people want a relationship with their parents.
100%.
But because it's so strained, we separate ourselves from it. And I wrote in the book a lot about how my mother would go to treatment, and then like all of the telltale signs will come back, like the nose, like messing with her nose, the nodding up. Like I will see all of the signs because I was just very aware.
Sure.
And when I started seeing like her constantly going to meetings, I just started seeing more changes. Like she would constantly go to meetings.
Okay.
From there, she just wanted to do like different things. She wanted a job. and a consistent job.
She's like, well, that's a big one, Mom.
Not only that, she wanted to move out of my grandmother's house and get her own place. And the last time when we had our own place, we got evicted. So just seeing her make the changes.
Yes.
And I didn't see her revert back because my mom had been through treatment several times with me growing up. She had been in treatment probably like way too many times. I can't even count.
Okay.
And so I knew the signs.
Sure.
So, and then, just wanting that relationship again.
Yes.
And feeling like I can trust this relationship, and because she's getting clean now, I can respect her.
Yes.
Because I coined a phrase like, respect is like a boomerang. And I used to tell her all the time, if you don't throw it out, you're not getting it back.
You're not.
I meant that. Like, I was young, and in hindsight, it may have been disrespectful, but I meant that with everything.
Well, you had been through a lot.
Yeah,
You had been through a lot. So at some point, I mean, your mom, again, we've had conversations, and she said she totally understood.
Mm-hmm.
She totally understood it. When you work a program, we obviously we can't speak in depth about anything because we're not advocating or signing off on. But when you work a strong program, whether it's in church or whether it's a multiple step program or whatever it is, then you have you're working to heal yourself, because in order for your mother or for me with my son, or for anyone whatever the experience is, we have to be able to work on ourselves. It's food is an addiction. I have a guest that'll be coming on soon. I have some people that are coming on that are addicted to food, and that have said that they've gone off and driven out and left their children to go out and get food. And you would think that that's not, but they have, or they've forgotten when they went in a fast food restaurant that their child was in the car. And they've forgotten because they're in there and they're going back and forth. And you think, no, you think, no. I'm like, oh, I'm mortified I gained a few pounds. And they're like, no, I'm addicted to food.
Right.
So when you hear that, and when you talk about your mom going into treatment multiple times, but this being different, Rita, how did you know it was different for you this time?
Oh, I just knew innately, because I was not obsessing over the drugs.
Sure.
And my mindset had changed. And not only that, I stopped hanging with the people, the places, and the things.
Yes.
And I started surrounding myself with people that was going to inspire me, motivate me, encourage me, uplift me, empower me.
Yes.
And that stuff felt good.
Yes.
And I was able to eat.
And hold your food down.
Well, not so much hold it down. I was one that I wouldn't even eat breakfast until I had the drug.
Okay.
And so I knew a shift was happening inside of me, and it was a mind shift.
Yes.
And I knew I wanted more. And not only that, I knew I deserved more.
Yes.
Because even in using, I used to pray to God, God help me.
Yes.
I wasn't raised like that, And so, I just knew innately, the gig is up.
Yes.
And I'm grateful
something happened.
Yes. Something spiritual
happened. And that's beautiful. Well, that would help us to transition into the writing of the book. And what I want to ask you, because my grandmother was always a safe space for me as a whole. My grandmother was just in general, my mother and I were extremely close, but my grandmother, no matter what, even if it was just something with my mother giving me, because I grew up getting whippings and stuff like that. Okay, old school, some of them now, but eat me, I'm calling the police. No, you couldn't have dealt with what we dealt with as kids. But was your grandmother a safe space for you?
My grandmother was absolutely a safe space for me. So if it wasn't, I'm like forever grateful for my grandmother, because not only was was her home a safe space for me, right? She made sure that I had things.
Yes.
And so I talk about me being teased as a kid. I was still fly. So like,
Look.
my granny made sure that I had things.
Sure.
Like she made sure that was my grandmother and my aunt, which is my father's sister, Priscilla. May they both rest in peace.
Yes.
They would tag team to make sure that I kept myself up, that I looked nice,
Sure.
that I didn't look like a product of my environment.
Absolutely.
And my grandmother was also the person who kept my brother and I when my mother would go in and out of treatment. So she did a few 30-day treatments. And so my grandmother would make sure that we were taken care of, fed. And her existence, her place was a safe space, to the point where I remember my aunts were they kind of got upset with my grandmother because they're like, "Oh, you do so much for Reese's kids."
I'm Reese.
That's
Yeah,
my mom.
yeah.
That's what the family calls her, Reese. You do so much for her kids, but not a lot for ours. And I just remember this conversation where she broke down crying, and she said, "Tanya and John does not have the same luxuries that you all have for your kids.
Yes.
You all work, y'all have your own place.
Yes.
They don't have that. And so without me, they really wouldn't have much at all."
Sure.
And just that, and that was in the 1900s too.
1903.
It was in the, like in the,
That's funny what you did. 1903. Yeah.
I was trying to lighten up the mood.
Sure.
But I just remember that like yesterday, and like that's why I say I'm just forever grateful
Yes.
for my grandmother.
Grandmothers they're a safe space for a lot of
Yes,
people.
yes.
You know, that's where they, my son misses my mother today just because that was his girl, that was his buddy, that was his friend. And it was the same way with my grandmother. So, rest in peace, to our lovely grandmother. So let's transition into, first of all, we're going to transition into the book as well, but and the journaling part of it and the healing part of it, of the book. But the question that I have for both of you, because so many people don't, even when recovery is there. I mean, I've seen 50 years of recovery, and people still don't talk to their kids. I've seen 20 years, I've seen whatever, and the kids will have no part of them.
Yes.
Because that's how painful it was. And I know some stories also have some domestic violence that's intertwined into it, some sexual abuse that's intertwined into it. Unfortunately, that was not your story for yourself, that wasn't something that happened to you, but I've heard stories where it was, where the kids talk about where the parents were selling them for drugs. And so that was the experience. And they're still begging their forgiveness, but and then you have to say, well, you do understand how some things just, you can't get past. When was it that you both said, hey, we're going to give this thing a try? When did you say, my mom's sober, we're going to give this thing a try? When did you say, I'm going to make sure my daughter knows I'm serious about my sobriety? I'm serious about being the mother to my children. And then I want to hear when you said, I'm going to trust her this time.
So, it's a saying that I use. What you do is so loud until I can't hear a word you say. So it was in my actions.
Yeah.
It was in my actions, of going to meetings and she knew the telltale signs, the straws, the little bag. She wasn't seeing that stuff anymore. My skin was clearing up. I was gaining weight and, so she knew I didn't have to say much because, the saying, what Tanya was hearing from me was wah, wah, wah.
Sure.
Because I always said, I'm done.
Yes.
And so it had to transition from me telling her, Tanya, I'm not using anymore.
Yes.
Into action. And it's been action for almost 28 years.
I love what you said, that what you do is so loud.
So
You got to coin that one. You better coin that one, okay? Let's put that on one of your t-shirts. She has a
Okay.
fabulous t-shirt line. We're gonna talk about that. You can coin that one.
Yes.
Well, what you're doing is so loud.
What you do is so
That
loud.
what you're saying,
What you say, what you do is so
action
loud.
speaks louder than
Yes.
words. Old cliche.
And that's what it was. I had to stop telling her, Tanya, I'm not gonna bring
Yes.
nobody over here no more. Tanya, stop. Tanya.
The straws, little straws were gone.
Yes.
The closed doors were gone.
Yes.
The hate notes were gone. You didn't have to
Yes.
see those anymore because she wasn't feeling
Yes.
that. She was starting to feel
Yes.
safe.
And then then it was my responsibility
Yes.
to make amends to her
Yes.
for the things that I didn't do as a mother. The
Sure.
cheerleader, the this, the that, the report card, the going to her
Sure.
job, under the influence, want her to give me $10,
Sure.
And so all of that changed. And she knew, wow, all right, my mom is all right. And then she wanted people to know that I was her mother.
Oh.
She was like, Mom, whereas before, because she worked at Jewel, she'd be like, Mom, get out of here.
Right. Don't let Paul come in here.
But once I got clean and sober, she was like, this is my mother, y'all, this is my mama. She was proud.
Well, one thing that I know for sure about you, with me getting to know you, and then I want to segue into you and how you decided that you were going to make that step. And then I'd like us to walk through the book there's some areas of the book. I truly believe that The Diary of a Dope Fiend's Daughter is a book that everybody could embrace in their life. I think that purchasing this book, and this is not an infomercial, this is just me being honest, purchasing this book, there's areas in here that we can heal from whatever it is going on in our life. Remove the dope fiend aspect of it and put whatever it is that you're experiencing, the healing that you need is inside this book. The journaling, there's many areas in this book that LaTanya shares where you can actually write down what your emotions are at that moment. Another thing I love that she says is, this is for you. This is for you. You don't have to share what you write with anyone else if you don't want to. This is for you. But you know what I want to say to you though, Queen? Whatever it was that went on in your life, what I know for a fact, you are one bad mama jamma today, baby. And I'm proud to call you my friend and sister. The things that you're doing in the educational system, that you're helping young kids with, what you've done with your life. See, it takes a village, we always say, and to see you rallying around villages that might not have anyone, you've turned your life into a whole vessel of helping others. And so I'm honored and I'm proud to say that we're friends because of the woman you are today. And I'm going to tell you the truth. If somebody doesn't have a testimony or no test, I don't get real close to them anyway. Because if I meet somebody, they go, oh, not me. I would never. I don't know anything about that. And I would never. And, they just everything that they do, they just perfect. I'm like, you could beat it. I can do it. They just, everything about them is perfect. Oh, no, everything was perfect. It was, I was like, what? Then we know we're not going to get along, okay? Because I need to have a little bit of color in there, okay?
Right.
When did you know for a fact, and then we're leading up to the book, that you're like, you know what? Forget this. I'm forgiving my mother. We're going to start this process. I'm loving on mine. I want to have my mother in my life. What happened? What was that turning point?
I think the turning point just gradually came, little by little.
Yes.
Like I said, when I started seeing her make changes and respect herself in a different way, and it made me feel like, okay, I can respect her. Okay, she's not hanging around these people anymore. I don't see them anymore. Okay, I can respect her. And then I respected what she was doing. And the biggest thing, like I said before, I really wanted a relationship with my mom. I didn't want to not respect her. I didn't want to have the mother where all of the kids at the school knew that this lady did drugs or LaTanya's mom does drugs. I didn't want that. I wanted the opposite of that. And so I think just being able to have it made me more like, let me just forget about the past and work with what's present.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, and I think the most important thing about healing and forgiving is the desire to want to.
Yes.
Because I don't care what the other person does, if you don't want a relationship, if you don't want to have anything to do with the other person, no matter what the other person does, I feel like because the desire is not there,
yes,
you won't do it.
Sure.
And it's like my mom didn't have the desire for drugs anymore, right? She didn't do drugs.
Right.
So I think that
the desire.
Yeah.
The desire. Because you also hear of people that are doing fantastic and everything, and then the kids or the loved ones or the parents don't have the desire for whatever reason.
Right.
And so it's like with my dad, I had the desire. I didn't want to not have my father in my life. He wasn't the same person. And it was years of not being the same person.
Right.
It wasn't one time and like I'd heard it before. It was years of this being. And I loved it. And I think that it's I wanted the relationship. So when we talk about the book, and here it says, from hurt to healing. What are you doing? Because we know that along with your mother working on her healing, what do you do besides write books, write multiple books, come up with genius ideas, run multiple businesses?
Yes,
Okay, keep it. It's all true. It's all true. This woman here, like her mother has to be proud of her because she's constantly doing amazing things, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. Tell me what you're doing to work on. I know what your mother does every day, one day at a time for her. So what do you do to work on your healing every day?
Writing has always been my outlet. And I personally think that people underestimate the power of writing. Because once it's out of your head and onto a paper, the notes app on your phone, the voice memo on your phone, like letting it out is healing.
Yes.
I don't like the way I feel when I hold on to something for too long. And so I think the most important thing is really getting to know self.
Yes.
And knowing what triggers me, what makes me unhappy, what causes me sadness, what causes me to have anxiety, and getting therapy. So back down memory lane, I was in therapy at 15 years old, and that was in the 90s. And so
the 1900s.
In the 1900s.
The 1900s.
And so just even getting therapy back then and knowing that it's okay to get help.
Yes.
Because in our communities, of course, we know that it's so taboo.
Girl, you took the words out of my mouth. It is so taboo to get therapy, right?
No, and I think that is because people are not educated. I remember having a conversation with someone who's really close to me.
Okay.
And I spoke about therapy. And they're like, no, if you go to therapy, that means you got to take medicine. That means you can't, it's a mark on your record. If you get older, if you want to buy a firearm, you can't. And I was that's not therapy.
None of that.
This is like therapy is a safe space for you to work through some of the hard things that you are going through. And it's like, if that person thought like that, and they were educated on this by their parent.
Yes.
How many other people feel like therapy is a tool or something that's going to put you on medication?
There's so many things in our communities that people don't understand. I was just somewhere yesterday, and my brother and Donald and I were talking about how in our community, the African American community, some people are scared to put on their license that they're going to be a donor because they think that they're taking the organs to die.
Wow.
And so it's a big thing. So when you talk about therapy, it's kind of that same type of a taboo. Then they say, I wouldn't go, I'm not telling anybody all my business and all that. Was therapy ever part of your journey?
No.
Okay. Because you get it in the rooms every day.
Yes.
You get in the rooms every day.
And
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, and I had to get it.
Sure.
Because remember, when our parents go to AA or whatever program they go through to get clean, they're getting help like from their steps.
Sure.
And unless they're healed enough to reach back to get us the help,
Sure.
we're left out here to get ourselves
100%.
the healing that we need. And that was one of the main reasons why I wrote the book and included the journaling prompts as well.
You know, you wrote in here at the beginning of your book, you said, you said, a note about the heart work.
Yes.
And so I made notes to myself. And even in the beginning, it says right here, it says, one is for the adult child and one of an addict. And you talked about the heart work. What kind of heart work did you personally do? And then we're going to talk about the journaling. And then it's because I highlighted areas that stood out for me, beginning, middle, and end. And I told you the conversation goes by so fast when it's a really good one. So we have, what we'll do one day is also we'll continue it on a different level where we can invite some people to come in. We'll do it online. So we'll do it online where we can invite in others to come in and meet the author and then the mother as well. And so that we can do that, be fantastic. A lot of healing about people, because people have written in. So I want to say, first of all, I want to say a huge thank you also to my technical directors. I love you guys. To Dewana Woodard, you guys are doing great jobs. To Brittany Lopez, I could not do this without you. I know I'm a handful, so getting everything together, but they're always by my side and making sure I'm okay. And I want to make sure that I just say thank you and let you know how grateful I am to both of you for everything that you're doing. Tell me a little bit about the heart work for yourself. What did you do to work on I know we talked about therapy. Therapy works on the mind. I know that it works, but what about the heart work? What did you do for yourself? And it says you don't have to write the answers, but if you do, don't let them, it says, but if you do, let them be honest, even if it's messy and uncomfortable. This is what I highlighted in the book in the beginning. And it says, you're not doing this to impress anyone. You're doing it to heal. Do you know I have written it? I don't do it now, but I have written in my journal thinking, and I've never said this out loud, thinking, nope, not publicly like this. I've said it to one other person, someone I trust, but I would write my journal sometimes since my son's been born, thinking, what if I passed and he read it? And then I wouldn't write certain things in. Like I'd write stuff, but if it would be something like about something maybe that he had done that affected me, that I really didn't like how he handled something, I might not put it in there. I don't do that now. I don't do that because I've worked through that process. But you said it in here because I'm saying a lot of people do that. People don't, they write it. I've got other friends that say the same thing, like, girl, I'll be scared to write in, just in case my husband finds it, or something like that. And so therefore, then there's no real healing if we do that. So tell us about the heart work for you.
The heart work for me, number one, is I don't like the way I feel when I'm holding on to something.
Yes.
It's heavy and it comes out busting at the seams at different times. It can be in marriages and your friendships and other ways. So holding on to certain things, like I try my best I have to get rid of it.
Yes.
When I say let it be messy. So, because if you're really not getting it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are trying to, if you're writing for release and you're still holding in something, it's neat.
Yeah.
Release is not, think about when you release.
Girl. Listen. I do it on a regular basis.
Yes.
I go ahead and get it out. I let it get messy.
Yes.
And I have my best times in.
Yeah. Release of any kind is a lot of times is messy.
Sure. In a good way also.
Yeah,
good mess.
Yeah, it cleans you out. It
yes.
cleans you out mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
Yes.
And so you cannot be cute with it. And what I would say is that I have learned recently with getting it out in a messy way. If I don't want anyone to read it, I purchased some dissolvable paper and I wrote it out. I wrote it on, I would write on the dissolvable paper and put it in a cup of water and it's released that way. But guess what? it's out of here.
Do you know I
Out
had
of
never
there.
heard of that until your mother told me about it? I had never heard of dissolvable paper. She told me that you use that.
Yeah.
I had never heard of that before.
Yeah. So I was burning paper at one point in time, and someone was like, "That's witchcraft." I was like,
We don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want a witchcraft. No, we burn the paper now. But people do sometimes.
But
put-
they do.
No, that's not witchcraft. It's your mindset. Yeah.
Interpretation.
Yeah,
of
it's
your
interpretation.
mindset.
It's not
Exactly.
because people do that when you go to
Right.
different meditation
Yeah,
camps and all that.
Exactly.
They'll say whatever it is that you want to purge.
Right.
People do it at churches. It's
Mhm.
not witchcraft, no.
Yeah.
But people do say that.
And then water.
Some people believe in Friday the 13th. Also, I don't. I get money on that day.
Yeah, no, but just real quick, water is a calmer release,
Yes.
and fire is more like get rid of it. It's just
Sure.
it brings out more emotions.
Sure.
When you know this is going away in water, it's just calmer.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, Rita, for you, when you hear your daughter talking about her healing, when you hear her talking about purging things,
Mhm.
we know that you have, that you work a solid program. There's various programs, there's various organizations that we know that
Mhm.
people are involved in. When you think about you releasing some of the things, because what I know to be true is just like she had to forgive you, you had to forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
You had to forgive yourself. And that's a really, even once all the drug, the alcohol and everything is gone, that's when that thing gets even bigger. How did I do that? Where did that start? Where are you with that today? Look how fast this time went by with you guys. I need to have you all. We should have 2 hours over this one, okay?
And so I've made a beginning,
Yes.
and how I constantly make amends to myself because I'm always striving and thriving
Yes.
to be a better woman. So I went back to school
Oh.
and I earned my associate degree and my bachelor's degree and my master's degree.
Yes.
And I've been in a helping career. And my motto for life is the service I do for others is the rent I pay to live on this earth.
Yes.
And so
Coin that one, Tanya. There's another one.
Yes.
Coin it.
You read I know these, so I'm like saying it with her.
She told me that one the other day also, but I want to act like I heard.
And so that's how I make amends to myself.
Yes.
And of course I would never forget about the things that I used to do, but I focused on the woman that I am today.
Yes.
And I know God has done a work on me
Yes.
and through me to be a living example to others.
Yes.
And so that's why I really wanted to do this with Davi
I can't thank
Davenport, my daughter and
I can't thank you enough.
because it's needed. Because I talk to other women and they still have strained relationships
Yes.
with their daughters and their sons. And so it's just a beautiful relationship when God can heal the hole that was once in one soul.
Yes.
And it was a hole in our souls.
Yes.
And it's constantly being healed. So we
Yes.
have a beautiful relationship today.
Wow.
I'm proud of Latanya. She ended up going back to school after her mother.
You inspired her.
Yeah, that was the first
You
thing I
inspired
felt comfortable doing behind her.
Yes.
Right.
Because everything else,
You like, well, not that one, not that one. Oh, but this one, but this one.
Yeah.
This one.
And she did. She went back to school and earned her bachelor's degree.
Another thing that congratulations to both of you. All night long. My grandmother went back and got her master's at 60 years old.
wow.
She did. She's always been an inspiration. So I'm thinking that might be my next step as well. That it'd be something.
And
like
I was
this.
57.
Yeah, my grandmother. I cannot believe that we're almost at the close of the show. It's crazy, but the healing agreement stood out to me. Also, that agreement with yourself, that healing agreement. What do you want the viewer? I'm highly recommending that the viewer goes and gets the book with it. I want you to tell the viewer how to get in touch with you. The Diary of a Dope Fiend's Daughter. Again, I made a joke and I said, Oprah, I think you should add this to your book club, but I was serious. So girl, if you out there, and I also want to talk to you about something, okay? But What would you like to leave the viewer with about your book? Summing your book up, what do you want to leave the viewer with about this and what you want this to do for the world?
For the reader about the book, I want people to know that what you went through with your parents and their drug addiction, you are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Our stories may not be identical, but they're in the same neighborhood. So a lot of us have went through the same things. I also want the readers to know that going through the prompts, the hard work, whether it's messy or not, there are certain things that you may be able to release for yourself.
Yes.
That you've been holding in for an extended period of time. And then there are also certain things that if your parent, God willing, is still alive, that you may be able to, if they're willing to participate in the journaling prompts with you, there are things that you may be able to learn about your parents that can allow you to have a little bit of compassion for the space that they were in during the time of their addiction. And just having that compassion and that empathy may be part of that gap, the bridge to the gap between your relationships.
That's powerful.
Thank you.
You know, I like that you said that there's things that you can do in the book together.
It is.
Yeah.
I also like one of the things that I've heard from you this evening and from both of you, but that I heard from you that you wanted the relationship, you wanted something better for yourself.
Yeah.
The desire was there. It's wanting something differently. For anyone that's out there right now, if you're struggling with addiction, just know that there's help. You can go to DaviDavenportLive.com. There's also programs that are out there that you can go to. There's popular programs that you can go to. Just put in, I need help. Google, I need help, and go to, some of the top programs in the world are there for you. For anyone that we recently also talked about domestic violence. If you're experiencing domestic violence within the home or outside of the home, then please make sure that you go to the National Domestic Violence Hotline and give them a call. We've got people that are written into Davi Davenport Live that are experiencing homelessness right now. This is a tough time for everybody. The economy's at an all-time high right now. People that were living, that had their own apartments and their own, you guys look just alike, own apartments and homes, or some of them are living in their cars right now. So we're going to give you the homeless hotline that you can go to also. And you can always go to DaviDavenportLive.com. Follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok now because the girl Dewana inspired me. She said, "You're not on TikTok?" I said, "I'm on TikTok." She said, "You're not updating your page." So we're on TikTok. We're on LinkedIn as well, but you can always go to DaviDavenportLive.com. If you have a story that you think that you want to be told, just go ahead and email me. I'll reach out to you myself. Or if you know of a story that needs to be told, don't hesitate. Can you guys share your social media information with the viewers so they'll know how to get in touch with you? Tanya, can you start?
Sure. So on all platforms, I am Latanya, Latanya Beasley Carter, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And it's a little of all of my life, my author life, my creative life, on all of those platforms as well.
And I'm on Rita Lawson, Facebook, and Instagram. It's Grateful 50.
No, Grateful Rita.
Oh, great. I'm sorry.
She's still helping you.
It's Grateful Rita. And the book is
to purchase the book directly through my website, it is www.dopefiendsdaughter.com. The book is also available on Amazon through Kindle Unlimited, and you can get a physical copy as well.
That's amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much. Also, make sure that you tune in On May 3rd, I have an incredible guest that's going to be joining me. That's Michael Cox. He is the CEO and founder and artist for Born Vain. It's all about wearable art. Michael started this project when he went to go take care of his mom in Chicago. He was living in Atlanta. He left his paints out on the counter at his house. When he came back, the paints had morphed into a face. And so Michael took this journey, this painful journey of losing his mom, and decided, I'm going to do something special. Celebrities all around the globe have Michael's shirts. They have his artwork, and so do I. So you're going to see him right here on the set of Davi Davenport Live. Michael Cox, Born Vain, wearable art. Being vain and being born vain is something that you want. Why not feel proud to wear yourself on your chest right here on Davi Davenport Live? We're super excited, guys. I want to say a huge thank you to my boy, Farley Jackmaster. I love you. And for the theme song for Davi Davenport Live, I love you so much. Farley's going to be joining us. The month of May is music and art. So we have Michael Cox coming on the 3rd, and then on the 17th, we have Farley Jackmaster coming on. He is the king of house music. Yes. Yeah, you know Farley, right? That's one of my very close friends. I had a radio station, a physical station in LA. Farley and his wife, Delise, came out and visited me. I love you guys so much. So we're going to have Farley right in the studio. We're going to talk about all the things, everything that you did for the Bears also, dude. He had a theme song he had done for the Bears. So super excited. May is art and music, and I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, ladies. It was incredible. We love you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, guys. Davi Davenport Live. It's all the way live. See you later, guys. Have a good day.